to take notes.
All right, 6 o'clock, so I'd like to welcome everybody to the September meeting this afternoon of the local Board of Education. First, I'd like to start by standing for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Muir, if you could please call the roll.
Elizabeth Johnson.
Here.
Carrie Lally.
Here.
Jamie White.
Here.
Shelley Paslucci.
Here.
Brian Favela.
Here. The first item is the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes, questions, corrections? Since there's none, if we could have a motion to approve the minutes from the August meeting.
So moved.
Amy moves.
I'll second.
Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we're going to go on to the treasurer report.
Provided the financial reports, I did upload the certificate of appropriations earlier. I was trying to correct something in the system. The correct reports was something as a question about this. So I want to highlight a few things in August. At the end of August, we received our insurance rates. They did increase 12%. Connie was able to negotiate them down from 15, was recommended increase. It's not as 15, it's 12%. We also received our casino revenue on August 31st. It's roughly the same amount as last year. That shows up on our state foundation line forecast. If you're looking for where that shows up. We did receive our tax settlement on September 6th. It was approximately the same amount as last year. So going back to collection split, it's pretty much in line with past. And then that should be it then. Certificate revenues, unless you guys have any questions on those.
Are there any questions for Mr. Muir? If not, I entertain a motion to accept the financial report.
I'll move.
Shelley moves.
I'll second.
Liz seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And on to the new business.
Okay, we have some exciting stuff here, so I'll start with Mr. Matos first.
Good evening. I know tonight for our good news in all three buildings, we have our new staff here that we're going to introduce to the board. But before that, I have another piece of great news to talk about, and it is our Blue Ribbon Award for our elementary. Back in February of this year, Mrs. Carlson and I were notified that by the U.S. Department of Education that the elementary was again nominated for the National Blue Ribbon Award. And this time we were selected in the category of exemplary high-performing schools. And that was based on report card data from the 18-19 school year. In order to be nominated in that category, you had to be in the top 15% of all schools with your performance index. And we were actually in the top 3% of all schools based on that year's data. We won the award back in 2008. And so we knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge this year because you can't take your old application and just change some dates and some names. You have to really show how your school has changed over the past 14 years with programs and things that you've put in place during that time. So Sherry Lewis and I got together and we put together a writing team, which you see some of our writing team is here with us tonight. And it was made up of our general ed teachers, intervention specialists, special teachers, our school psychologist, school counselor, director of student services, and myself. And we met several times, February through March. But when we weren't in those meetings, our writing team, they were meeting with their grade levels in their departments. Everybody took a part of the application, which was very lengthy. And they went and they met, gathered data, and put their parts together in the end, there were 5 parts. It was a 21-page application that we had to complete, and almost every elementary staff member really had a part in putting this together. We were very fortunate after we submitted our first copy that during the time where you had to do revisions, we were never contacted that we had to do a revision. So just a great job that our writing team did the very first time. And I figured that was a good sign that we would probably get it this time. And then this past Friday, a little bit after 10, the announcement was made that we were awarded with the National Blue Ribbon Award as an exemplary high-performing school. We are only one of 13 schools in Ohio to win the award this year, and one of 297 schools in all of the United States to win the award. So we'll be recognized November 3rd and 4th is the actual ceremony in Washington, D.C. So I just want to thank the board, Mrs. Carlson, for your support over the years to allow me, my staff, just to do what we know is best for kids. I thank the parents in the South Range community for their support to allow us to work with their children every day. I'd like to thank our elementary staff, everyone top to bottom who works with the students to prepare them to be the leaders of tomorrow. And so we have some of our committee here tonight who was part of that writing committee. I'll recognize everyone. Kristen Massey, Allison Dobro, Katie Butcher, Tawny Tharp, Sue Calhoun, Sherry Manchester, Susie Kulianis, Kim Vizdos, Megan Frank, Sydney Maynard, Elaine Brancaccio, and Sherry Lewis. So again, just a big thank you and congratulations to everyone involved with our elementary. And then moving on to our new staff members. Again, we have two this year, right? This is Catherine McMurray. She's teaching Title I at RTI, and Taylor Johnson, our intervention specialist tutor. So Catherine, I'll let you go first.
Hello, I'm Catherine McMurray, and I'm just extremely excited, and I feel really blessed to be joining this wonderful staff. My oldest daughter started kindergarten here and now she's in 3rd grade, and now my youngest is in kindergarten, and I was always able to see from the outside as an educator just what a special place this place is, and I always wanted to find a way to join the staff. So I graduated from YSU a long time ago, about that. And then I moved down to North Carolina and taught down there for 11 years, and got my master's degree at Appalachian State University, which now people know what that is over the past couple of weeks. And then came back up and taught at Jackson Milton for 5 years, and then was lucky enough to get in over here. So I just feel really lucky to be here, and I want to thank everyone for letting me join your staff.
Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Johnson. I was hired this year as an intervention specialist tutor. I service kids in kindergarten and 1st grade, and I work to put interventions into place for academics as well as behavior. And then I continue to implement the services that were put into place last year for the 1st grade students. I feel very fortunate to work with the amazing staff here, as well as the kids and the parents in the community. I got my intervention degree and my early childhood degree from the University of Akron. I moved to Columbus and I taught 2nd grade for a few years and 3rd grade for a year. And now in my 4th year of teaching, I'm really looking forward to diving into this intervention role. And again, I just want to say thank you because I'm very grateful to be here. So thank you.
Dan?
Good evening, everybody. Again, from the middle school, congrats to the elementary on the Blue Ribbon Award. We have one new staff member here with us tonight. That's Abby Ausdamer. Abby is an intervention specialist tutor. She comes to us from West Branch, former student. I'm probably stealing her thunder because she probably was going to. We also have Roger Lewis, who is fulfilling the role of high school marching band, middle school general music, and we have Kaylee Luckland, who is pretty much in all 3 buildings, and she was unable to be here tonight because of volleyball match. So, Abby, the stage is yours.
Okay, so I graduated from South Range in 2012, and then I went to Youngstown State University and graduated with my intervention specialist degree. And then I went to West Branch and taught there 6th grade language arts intervention specialist until this year I switched to South Range, so I'm happy to be back. And I'm looking forward to starting the school year with South Range. So, thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Evening, everyone. We have, like say 3.5 new teachers, I guess, at the high school. Maria Joseph, who's not able to be here tonight, she's a little under the weather. She was my everyday sub last year, so I think everybody met her at least once at one of our meetings. She was here last year. But we also have Christy Pepperny, who's an inclusion specialist, and we have Matt Roshak, who's our new math teacher. And then, like Dan said, Roger Lewis is our high school band, our high school marching band instructor. So I'm gonna let Matt go first. So Matt can stand up. Matt came, or he'll tell you where he is.
Yeah, so this is year 9 of teaching for me. I did most of my teaching at Massillon Tuslaw, pretty, an hour and a half from here. But last year I was at West Branch High School and teaching, coaching track over there. And I saw this opening in the summer, and a lot of my friends over at West Branch were like, hey, South Branch is a good school district, good community and everything, you gotta apply for it. So I did, and here I am. Wouldn't change it, so hopefully have a long future here. I'm excited to be here and trying to help out with athletics too. Volunteering for the cross country team, and sounds like I'm going to be coaching track, which I'm excited for. And, yeah, I'm excited for the opportunity to do what I do best.
Hi everyone, I'm Christy Pepperny, 9 years as well, teaching. I've come from Mineral Ridge, which was my first and only school district I've ever been in. I started my teaching career much later in life. I had a business degree, kind of pursued that route first, had kids, and then realized, I think I want to be a teacher. So I finally, midlife, realized that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So did intervention specialist. I'm currently working on my transition to working endorsement as well, to add that to my licensure, and I am very excited to be here. I have to say, if I can say one thing, this is a breath of energy here, and coming from where I was, it's a whole different world here, and you all should be commended for the district that you have. So I am very privileged to be here, so thank you.
Mr. Pagnotta, do you have any?
Technology. Last September, you may recall, we did this internet safety thing for our children. We sent it out to the staff. They have a short little video to play, and they go over some of the information just so we can stay Children's Internet Protection Act, it's commonly referred to as SIPA, compliant, so that when we apply for these federal dollars that help us pay for our internet services, we can get that money. Without you can't. So we provide this training, and this is also a good forum to do it as the Board of Education. Meetings are open to the public. So if you have any questions, concerns, call the school, talk to me about the training if you think there's anything additional that we need to do. But this is that public meeting that we try to have every year. Thank you.
Mrs. White, anything? Or no? Mrs. Johnson? Okay, I'm going to go over mine. I was also going to recognize and congratulate the elementary. As Mr. Mato said, this was from the 18-19 school year. So we were kind of waiting a little bit because they were double checking some things that we had to do this year that they were kind of tagging onto, I noticed. So their team really did work very hard. I've participated in this one other time, watched the staff have to get all the data. So knowing that the entire staff was a part of it, wrote part of it, it's just an all-inclusive building accolade for them. So I'm very proud of them. And I know Ms. Matos and possibly somebody else will be going to Washington, D.C. to receive the award. Some other updates, we did receive the cash for the grant. We always like when it timely comes into the account. So actually, Mr. Nero and Mr. Pagnotta and I will be meeting tomorrow to review a couple of the items that we knew we were going to purchase. We will have to go out to bid for the film because it's over the threshold amount, and then at that point we'll see how much extra is left to also look at some of the other items that the teachers kind of showed interest in wanting for, like locking the doors and other things. So we'll see where we come with those bids and be able to see what else we can purchase. I also want to highlight the speech and debate team once again. They now have become a charter achieving 121 or more straight points last year. So they have earned membership in the association's prestigious 100 Club for our speech and debate. The gentleman actually, Mr. Warren, he actually sent an email to me congratulating it for the fact that the size of our district and how quickly our speech and debate team reached this award. He was very impressed with it. He really commended the fact that we are reaching the middle school kids and encouraging them to start and growing that program. So he personally did reach out and commend our individuals. This year there was a CCP audit. They have to do these in the state of Ohio as well as each state has to do one. So Ms. Berkey shared with me, we ended up 101 out of 602 schools regarding utilization of CCP, and that is all schools. We actually, for a small town, low poverty, low population is where we fall into ours. CCP per eligible student, the state average, was 1.28 and we were 1.62, so we actually are above what the average is in regards to schools similar to ours. So I know Ms. Berkey reached out today. She'll be having her meeting. We'll be advertising for CCP meeting. Most likely conference night, I think, is when we're going to do that meeting, where she can introduce this to any parents who haven't seen it or know about it, as well as keep our parents that are involved in CCP updated with that. So we'll continue, and the district continues to strive. Matt was one of the reasons that we were intrigued by Matt, is he comes to us with the CCP experience from Kent State, was able to fill that hole when we lost Matt teacher. The last big thing I want to talk about is our report card. I did link on our district webpage today this PowerPoint that I provided a hard copy for you, so that the community can go on and look as well. It has changed, as I've mentioned before, to a star system. So each of the rankings we're receiving stars. Some of the big things that have changed are what we're used to seeing with did we meet all the indicators? So did we pass every reading, every math test, every science tests like that, and all the end of course? That's just one very small component in the performance index now, or in the performance section. So they're looking at, they kind of made some new headings and some new groupings. So we have the achievement component, which is comprised of a performance index, meaning how are we growing our students? How many students scored in the skill, accomplished, accelerated? Do we have any advanced plus students? Because maybe their grades are students who take algebra in 8th grade and they start pacing. If they score advanced, then we get an extra bonus point on top of that, as well as the performance indicators. So they've combined those two areas together, and that's what gives us our achievement component, which we did receive all 5 stars on. The progress component is the overall value-added progress measure. I actually was on the phone with it's called EBOS, the company today, because we were trying to determine why our building data coloring might have looked different than our district. So the building data is based off of comparison of school-age students in that grade, but the district data is across the entire state of Ohio. So the numbering can change a little bit. If anybody looks at that, they may see that one of the buildings has a yellow or a green, and then on the district it's a different color. This is the area that we will be working on throughout the year, is progress. This is value-added measures the teachers able to grow the students from year to year and maintain their growth over a 3-year statistical measure. So this is one area that we will be focusing on this year. We did only receive 3 stars as a district. The buildings vary based on where they are. Early literacy component, this is the 3rd grade reading guarantee, promotion to 4th grade, K-3 diagnostics and different testing and scores that we have to do. One of the measures is, can we move kids that maybe are not on track to on track? So we're rated in various measures on this, so we received 4 stars this year. Again, another area, all areas will always be focused on, but another area that the elementary is working on, they're receiving dyslexia training over the next year. So some of that will also address some of our students who maybe aren't making the progress for the reason we're not receiving the 5 stars. I did provide you the data sheet linked on here as well that kind of shows that they do take, so year 1 we had 83.3% that moved to on track, and you'll see it's a multiple year measure and every year it changes. So again, you're chasing a score, you're chasing a ranking, but the students change. So it is a little bit different. It is like a continually moving target. Elementary does a great job meeting the students' needs, finding different ways, different individuals to help when we notice that. We do have 100% of our students in the 3rd grade that are guaranteed moving on to 4th grade with passing either the state test or the alternatives that they're allowed to take. You will see a discrepancy on this sheet as well. This data on the state report card is still showing our 77.2. but we had some students retake the reading test, the third grade reading test, and I noticed I don't know if you noticed, in our scores, in our secure site, it's reporting 80%. So, all right, gap closure is the next section. I provided you a graphic that shows a lot of things on it. So gap closure, again, is a new area. It is the gifted performance index, how well our students that are gifted are performing. We have a chronic absentee measure. For those of you who are not aware, if students are identified as chronically absent, an intervention plan is instantly put into place with the administration, the counselors, Mrs. Forby, and the parents to ensure that the students can get back in school and they don't miss anything for school. English language proficiency improvement indicator, graduation goals by student subgroups, English language math achievement by subgroups, English language math progress by subgroups. And when we're talking about the subgroups, where all students weigh socioeconomic and special education are the ones that are being evaluated. So the graph below just kind of shows all those measures and where we scored, but we did receive 5 out of 5 on those as well. Graduation component, 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rate as well as the 5-year. We have a 98% passage rate, and this is between the fall of 17 and the graduating class of 21, so it's a compilation of multiple grades pulled together, and a 5-year of 96.6, but that we still received 5 stars. I did provide you a comparison of the state, similar districts, and our district is above every one of those. The last page that I want to highlight, and it's coming soon on the report card, and everybody's starting to really hear about this, college and career readiness. So the last measure that is coming down once all these new changes to the high school have been made are the college, career, workplace, and military readiness component, which will consist of ACT, SAT remediation free scores, honors diplomas, advanced placement credit, international baccalaureate credit, 12 or more credits for single career field, state recognized license, 12 or more CCP credits earned, enlistment in the military, completion of pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship, acceptance into an apprenticeship program after high school, Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal, and 250 hours of internship work-based learning. So those are all the different components that will be used to provide us a score for that when that actually starts. We did, a year ago, I believe it was, sign up with the county, and we do have career counselors working with our high school. Mr. Rowan and Ms. Berkey meet with them frequently, identifying students who maybe are at risk for not retaining or students who maybe are not succeeding, and they put together success plans for them. So we're kind of already one step ahead because they've been working on that for 2 years, and that is part of this component. So do you have any questions on the report card? As I mentioned before, we had a leadership meeting already, and we kind of identified goals and established goals for each of the building. Now that we actually have our hard data and where we fared on our report card, the buildings are agreeing to schedule meetings so we can work as a building team, look at the goals that their district group kind of decided were best, tweak them, change them, alter them if we need to, and then start the progress monitoring so we can ensure that we're going to continue to reach our 5 stars, but possibly get up to 4 and 5 for the rest of them. Question? That was all I have for my report.
Okay. Thank you. So on behalf of the board, we'd like to thank all the staff members that took time out of their nights to come and introduce yourselves. We really appreciate that. It's great to meet you, and we're very excited to have you. I also just wanted to mention, I was doing some reading about the National Ribbon Schools, and I thought this was interesting. On their website, it says their leaders not only articulate a vision of excellence and hold everyone to high standards, they stay close to real action of teaching and learning. Then further down, it says family and educators work together in trust, and I think that really sums up, the excellent job that the elementary, the whole school year has been doing. But it's one thing to be doing it, and then something totally different to be able to articulate it to another group of people to read it and appreciate it. So just can't thank you enough. You guys did an excellent job. It's just amazing that there are so many schools in Ohio, and it's nice to see that they're appreciating the hard work you guys do. So thank you. Appreciate it as well. Moving on, go to the agenda items. We're at
reports, have them together, mostly just based off historical data, like any major changes that maybe in the health insurance increases, obviously change the budgets for the insurance costs, any like collection rate for real estate. So throughout there, if you guys have any questions, that's mostly where it's from.
The next item is, and hopefully the end of it, payment in lieu of. We had a few students, the schools contacted them, reminded them to contact us, as well as 2 students who moved into the area, but unfortunately are on a type of visa that we cannot accept here at our building. So they had to go to a public or private school, so that they were added to the payment in lieu of, since we do not bus to them. October board meeting, asking that the board meeting be able to be moved to, I believe we said October 24th would work for the most part, at least for the all 5 to be here. Policy consideration. So we have a whole host of policies that are needing to be updated. Majority of them are being updated for wording. So I'll mention the weapons one just once because they're all identical. Some of the changes came down that, not including the change that we could if we wanted to arm staff, but also weapons carried by security personnel employed by the board who are qualified under the state law. Basically, they took letter B and morphed it into letter A, so that was a change. It talks about handguns in the possession of an individual who has been issued a concealed carry license that is valid at the time of conveyance, or a person active duty member, armed forces. So we're talking about these. They could have them locked in a locked vehicle when they're on campus now. So that was a change, that if they're in one of those locked safes in the car, they're permitted to leave there. They don't have to go home, leave them at home, and then come back in. But they have to be one of those individuals to be able to have that permitted. So that was the big change to the weapons for everybody, no matter what. Course of study. One of the things that was eliminated in the old days, the county used to be the ones who would kind of put together a list of curriculums, give us a list, and we would select it from there. So we no longer do that. We have a committee at each building. If they're looking at a different curriculum, they may call the county to help them to bring the resources here or identify others since they're across Mahoney County. But we have teams within that work closely with the county, and we identify what is best for our school, our needs now. If we were to buy a new curriculum, we no longer take the reference just from the county. So they actually removed that. Career advising. I already mentioned earlier that we're working with our career advisors and the success plans to be developed. So that was added to the career advising, as well as information regarding career fields that require industry credentials, certificates, associate degrees, bachelor's degrees, graduate degrees, and professional degrees, as well as information about ways to offset the cost of post-secondary education. So those were the things that were added to that policy. District-sponsored clubs. Pronouns were changed. They're trying to use more of the student or their, so all encompassing. And some of the other changes were that make sure, and they added that, which we do as part of our athletic forms, that every athlete has to be aware of concussion protocols, signs of concussions, and that is part of our athletic package that we already have staff, parents and students sign off on. Interscholastic athletics, it was just pronoun changes in that one. Employment of personnel for co-curricular, extracurricular. As always, we've always, for our athletics and certain things like marching band and the plays, they had to have a PAP. They have now encompassed any activity. So even our advisors who are for robotics or speech, they also have to have a PAP unless they're a licensed teacher. So they've expanded that pupil activity permit requirement to include even just some clubs and things that are non-athletic that we think of a PAP is used for. So I've been working really closely with all of our individuals, and we're getting that up to date right now. Said weapons, saying eligibility of residential, non-residential students. This one was more so, again, adult resident, the adult resident. So they're really pointing that the adult resident has to be the one that comes in and registers. Kids can't do it, or siblings cannot do it. Again, pronouns, we're using the word instead of his or her, they're actually putting the word the superintendent in. So a lot of that was just wording changes, as well as safe at home. Any family who may be individual who comes to our district in a way of safe haven because they fled a location, they have to actually register now with the safe at home for a district to qualify them for individual that is here under safety. We have had an update to the chronic health conditions. It's more inclusive. It no longer just says peanuts. It's including other allergies that can cause anaphylactic shock, care of students with diabetes. The policy was updated, which we do already, majority of this, we're working with Akron Children's. We actually have a student in elementary. The staff came in early, the aides came in early, and Akron Children's trained them. So we work very closely with the healthcare plans that the doctor works for them, as well as Akron Children's and our nurse. So we're already doing majority of that, but it's a lot more extensive now. Diploma deferral, it's working with students who have IEPs, so the policy was updated a little bit more to be an IEP team decision, and again, reference pronoun changes. Travel reimbursement and relocation costs. We don't do relocation costs, so that was the change on this, that was removed. Fair labor standards, just making sure that individuals who maybe have returned to work after having a baby or they have the time that they may need to make sure that they can take care of their needs during the day in a safe, closed, clean location. Facility security, it talks again about including for if we wanted to do metal detectors or other scanners, this now includes vape pens and other prohibited equipment devices. No longer, it's just what we're used to hearing about. It's expanding to include the other items. Small manned aircraft, basically I already had the permission that I could allow somebody who's been trained and has the correct licensure to use it when there's not a lot of people around, not when it stands, when the games are going on, but that now gives me the right that if they violate it, I can revoke that from them permanently. School calendars, updating biannual, that you can do your 2-year calendars, just doing some updates on these that were done over a couple years so they came through. Personnel files, again, going on with changing of pronouns to employees or their, to the district's valid confidential program authorizing issues by the Secretary of State certifying that the employee is the participant of safe at home. So again, it's going back to that safe at home. And the rest of this is all just pronouns, student, changing his or her to students. So, any questions on any of those? Okay.
There's just a couple of ways we have for sure on file. So it's approval, I think, see the version of that water.
And we received, as I mentioned before, our OFCC safety grant, and we also received our Title III grant. The Title III is for our English language learners. So this is just asking board approval to receive these monies and to expend them. Compliance officer with Mrs. Lewis leaving, we needed to add Jacqueline DeCivio is going to step into her role, so they will remain Steve Matos and Jacqueline DeCivio. Business Advisory Committee agreement. This is a yearly update. This is a locally focused partnership between the education, business, trade leaders in our area that we meet about monthly. We have various groups that come and speak, and they're working to that career readiness report card ranking that we're going to be having coming soon. They're working right now to try to get other options in our hands. The Skilled Trade Expo that's coming at the fair this coming week, these are things that they are also a part of. So this is a monthly thing that we participate in, and that would be it. If you have any questions on this. Okay.
Do you have any questions or comments? So at this time, we would have an opportunity for public participation for agenda items. So if anybody would like to speak on any agenda items, we have 1 minute to 2 minutes. State your name and address, and the floor is yours.
I just want, I showed up, I haven't come in a while because I think everything is running very, very well, but after looking at the report card last week, I know Beth, I texted you, but I think the district is doing phenomenally well, especially compared to our peers. you know, we're within striking distance of Canfield. We've passed Poland way up. I think we've become now the destination community for people to look at when if you're a young parent with kids. You know, they're coming here now again for the academics. I think the sports is always going to be there, but we're starting to get our academic mojo back, which I think had probably been given lip service a little bit under the last administration. And I just wanted to congratulate you specifically because I think a lot of this has resulted since Beth has taken over as superintendent. And I think we owe her a lot of credit for what's happening in this district. You know, look, I didn't go into it at the depth that you did on the grades, but just looking it over, it looked very, very positive. With the College Credit Plus, you know, I've pushed the heck out of that. I would still say, you know, I think we do probably a better job than any other school in the Valley on College Credit Plus. But I would also still say, I think for the right kids, not for everybody, but especially ones that are ACT remediation free, you know, they're in high school, this is a great place to be. But in all honesty, if you're ACT remediation free after, say, a sophomore year, we should look at having you go to YSU, go to Kent State, someplace like that, because I put 3 kids through it. Amy, I know your kids took advantage of it, and it is a tremendous, tremendous advantage for those kids, especially if you're going to a STEM field. When you go to college, if you've knocked out a lot of that stuff, and I've got right now at work, I've got a bunch of young high school kids, or not high school, college kids. A lot of the ones went to Boardman and that. Wish they would have been able to do more College Credit Plus. Wish they would have knocked it out, because when you're studying, when you're taking calculus, you're taking chemistry, and a lot of, you know, if you're in engineering, it's very, if you've got some of those other, you know, English and the writing class and things like that out of the way, it's very, very beneficial. You have much more time to devote to that. But overall, I think you're doing a fantastic job. Kudos to all of you, and I couldn't be happier.
Thanks, Richard.
Do you mind if I just kind of want to highlight, you mentioned the saving of money and doing the credits. I did not highlight that, and this was, I think, over a couple of years report they gave us, but we've estimated to save $259,362 for parents by offering CCP. So
If they're going away to college, I would say that's low. It saved me on one student that got out a year early. It saved me well over $20,000, and that's just one. I mean, I've got another one that's going to do a 5-year program in 4 years. So I mean, it is very, very beneficial. I think, like I said, I think we do a very good job with it. We have probably more kids that do CCP. I don't know I didn't look really at Canfield and Poland what their CCP participation rates are, but ours is very high. And I think if we could push for the right kids, I know tracking is verboten, I know we're not allowed to do that anymore, but I think if we looked at getting the right kids even as early as 8th or 9th grade, especially the STEM kids, and tracking them so that they're going to be out of here for the most part when they're juniors and seniors and taking a lot of that stuff, it's very, very, very beneficial to the kids.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, if that is it, we will go ahead and go through these agenda items to approve them. So back to the fiscal year 23 appropriations. Get a motion to approve those.
I'll approve.
Terry moves. Second. Liz seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The item payment in lieu approval for the students listed below.
So moved.
Amy moves.
I'll second.
Shelley seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Changing the October board date, October 24th, not changing, setting October 24th at 6 p.m.
So
Go ahead. Liz moves.
I'll second.
Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The policy updates listed below.
I'll move.
Shelley moves.
I'll second.
Amy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The approval of the 2 invoices for public purpose and ground sprinkler. Liz moves.
I'll second.
Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The Title III grant approval.
I'll move.
Amy moves.
Second.
Liz seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The approval of the compliance officers, Mr. Matos and Mrs. Decivio.
So moved.
Liz moves.
I'll second.
Shelley seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The business committee agreement,
I'll move.
Terry moves.
I'll second.
Amy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This time, I'd like to give you the opportunity for public participation for any items that are not on the agenda. So, again, 2 minutes. If anybody would like to say anything, have a chance.
Actually, I would like to recognize our marching band for fabulous performance on Friday and put the Poland band with them. That was a very, very nice experience. It was. A lot of comments from them. Yes. And also to Mrs. Rosen and the Spirit Club for their participation with all the students and everything. I think those need to be recognized, along with all our staff are doing a wonderful job and report card and blue ribbon.
Speaking of the bands, now that you mention it, I saw Frank Dispenza last week at the trustees meeting, and I noticed I'm going to a couple different football games this year, Boardman, Fitch. I mean, your alma mater's down, I think, 65 kids with instruments. Boardman's down. Mine is down to like 80. These are bands that used to have 300-400 kids in them. I know ours is down in numbers. So,
It's close. It's up there.
yeah, but not what it
It's
was.
more than those two.
Oh, I know. We're actually a Division V football school. We have more kids in our band than Division II schools do. But I think it would be a good idea to re-emphasize with parents again how important a music curriculum is, and to try and get some of that back. Even maybe look at getting like the 7th and 8th graders. I think Louisville marches are 7th and 8th graders. Just because it's just a great. All 3 of my kids did band. All loved it. And I think that's always been one of our crown jewels. So to try and get the mojo back in that program, or try and get kids re-interested in it, I think would be a good thing to do.
And just so you guys, the board knows, he's saying that, what we did with Roger Lewis, so you guys know, Dan came up with this great idea of putting Roger as our middle school band instructor on our high school marching band. So the kids in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they're getting a taste of Roger in the middle school. He's teaching John Mineski's teaching the high school jazz band, and he is one of my high school band teachers, but he's not the marching band. Roger's doing marching band, so we are trying to run our numbers up by kind of having the kids have an experience with Roger in middle school, and then when they're in the high school, they kind of know Mr. Lewis. They're kind of used to what he's doing to try to run our numbers up. I said for him to have another Florida trip this year, and that would make the numbers stay, but he didn't want to hear that first year at South Race, so he just liked Ian's idea better than mine, so Ian won that battle. I'll win the war.
That was a great idea.
The band is looking at new uniforms, so that was part of it, because we're going to have to do major fundraising to try to get new uniforms. I did kind of throw out the suggestion, do the pants this year, maybe jackets next year, like kind of do it in 2 phases, but uniforms are not cheap. So we might be seeing a sign, sponsor a uniform, and you can buy one here. But that's the main reason that unfortunately we can't do all this at once, so we'll see uniform fundraisers coming soon.
I'll say on that band subject, there's got a lot of friends that are from out of district that come in and see our band, and their kids are in band. They said, this isn't how it was when we were in school. We were launching water balloons in the band, but here it's something that everybody wants to be part of. So I think Jeff built a really good foundation.
Frank basically said COVID was decimated the bands, not just here, everywhere. I mean, it just, the numbers are down everywhere. I think a lot of the phones and social media and stuff like that, well, these kids, I think getting them motivated is tough now. But, music education, I think, is something that sticks with you the rest of your life.
All right, so that will wrap up the agenda items, so we can move to personnel. Let's see, those.
We have a few new substitutes that we have signed up. In fact, we're excited after October. Jenny Benson is willing to do some substituting. She'll be rejoining when we need her. Elena Collini, James Fantone, and Tom Draper, and then Jerome DePascale. Jerome's also going to be helping us kind of with some of our graduation success plans we talked about, where you might have somebody come in and work one-on-one with the student and maybe have to do some touch-up to make sure we can get them to graduate. So he is going to work with Mr. Rowan to do that. Ms. Elder, as I mentioned before, will be doing a maternity sub, so I have the daily rate there for her. Unfortunately, Mr. Stitt has taken another job, so he has asked for, he will be resigning as our daily sub 4 days a week at the high school. And Robert Childs came up, and he actually used to be a high school teacher. Mr. Rowan met with him today, so they're going to try to figure out how to make that work, whether it be 3 days or 4 days a week. And then general substitutes for aides. I did advertise last week, and I was very impressed how many people reached out to me. So Kate Frank's going to do a day or two a week. Rebecca Stafford, substitute aide. Craig Brinker, who is our middle school wrestling coach, he actually said in the winter times when his work's a little slow, he'd love to come in and do some aid work with our students. And I have about 3 or 4 more out there working on their license right now to do substituting, which is great. Approved Kara Caller as a student helper in the K-12 complex. She actually has been doing this for a couple weeks, just couldn't get it on the agenda for where we fell. And this, I'm going to leave it on, even though she did receive a job outside of school, but if something happens, then she's already approved, she can come back. And then the following supplementals: Kate Frank, speech and debate volunteer coach. Jim Stitt, assistant basketball coach. Matt Groshak, varsity boys track. Anthony Foster, weight room. Christy Pepperny and Abby Osnheimer, 3 extended days for special education services. Catherine McMurray, Title I extended days, which I remember 2 that they get release days for Title I. Cindy Maynard, 5 extended days for counseling. Kaylee Luckland, junior class advisor, effective September 12th. Lauren Paplansky, assistant softball coach. Mitch McConnell, he's been a volunteer coach in the past, but due to some coaching schedules, he is now a assistant boys coach at 2%. Mr. Staffel and will be splitting it to ensure that we have paid coaches on the field. So again, Joe Staffel, 2%. Keith Drunowski, unfortunately, needed to resign from the weight room, not for a bad reason. He has 2 young children at home. So that's why Anthony is stepping up. Approved Brenda Pettit as our English language learner teacher. We have 2 students here who need the services. We will be partnering with the county this year as they finally hire somebody that is licensed, but just in case we do need some extra support. Brenda has done this in the past, so I wanted to get her report approved. Approved Ralph Binder, Tier 2 bus driver. Again, very excited that we had some new individuals reach out to us, and he is one of them that we just trained. Approved Jocelyn Kramer. She is our bus aide, replacing one that we lost in the summer. She is also training to attain her bus driving, so she can be a sub-bus driver for us. And then these are the listed tiers for the Tier 1 through 3 bus drivers, bus aides, and then lead maintenance. We approved the MOU last board meeting, so the person is Jim Terry at $20 an hour for lead maintenance. Again, just really highlighting our garage. I drive by Myers and I see all these buses there to be repaired, and I think to myself, ours are on site being fixed here by our people and back on the road. We're not dealing with that, so it's just grateful. Middle school and high school drama production help. This is all paid out of the drama fund, so through their fundraising. Robin Protein will be a middle school choreographer and high school choreographer. Walker Marks, music director for the middle school, and Laurel Sabota helps with the costumes and assistant director of middle school. So those are paid through from the funds that they raise. Any questions on any of those?
Okay, if there's no questions on those, I'd accept the motion to approve.
Motion.
Terry moves.
I'll second.
Shelley seconds. And Mr. Nero, if you can call roll, please.
Terry Allen,
Yes.
Shelley Flitch,
Yes.
Elizabeth Johnson,
Yes.
Amy White,
Yes.
Brian Agnew.
Yes. And we do not have a need for executive session tonight, so with that, if there's nothing else, that's it. Good. Take motion to adjourn. Seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?